What, you were margin trading on BitMEX? What the hell? Like you're all idiots trying to sound like Buddha, and you're all idiots, mate. Like, yeah, it's bizarre.
Keyword Crypto is 100% listener supported, so visit the Keyword Crypto Patreon page and help us stay online. Follow us on Twitter at Keyword Crypto. Join our little community and let us know if you've got a good idea for a guest. Today we've got a really great story from Jason Smith, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So yes, welcome everyone. I'm JJ, I'm here with Michael, and special guest today, Jason Smith, who we met on Twitter as... Jason, you're a business owner, and you're one of the few people that I've met who has actually used crypto to pay people for business purposes, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
so
I was just an idiot who was trying to follow the label.
So tell us about your business. It's a media company, but what is a media company? What do you do?
What is a media company? It's such a vague thing, isn't it? Don't want to overstate it. It's not... I'm not Rupert Murdoch, but I was about 2012 living in a little town in Western Australia that didn't have much digital news coverage. It was quite isolated from capital cities, and I just saw an opportunity to launch something that was sort of like a hub for everything in that area. And so I built a platform where people could find things, classifieds, like a Craigslist type thing, local events. And as it grew quite quickly, it became, like, people would tell us everything that was going on in the town. So it was originally just going to have a little bit of local news, but it became quite a bit of a news organisation as well. And it was just supported by advertising, a business directory and job vacancy ads and things like that. And we launched in a couple of other towns. Yeah, so that was my media company.
So is it a website, or how does somebody use it?
Yeah, website, app, social media. A lot of people would just engage through social media. But yeah, there's like a standalone website. People can browse the content, smartphone apps.
I see. So you show up on social media as, what is the name of the company? What's the brand?
Well, the first one we launched was called Everything Geraldton. The town's called Geraldton, yeah. So people would just follow us on Facebook, discover that we existed, either interact through content we posted there, or subscribe to the email or download the app or whatever.
Did you actually produce videos and content, or was it mostly just curating?
It started off as curating, but no, I've always had a love for writing, so I quickly decided my opinion was worth shoving down everyone's throat. And a lot of writing and a lot of content creation. We ended up becoming the biggest media company in the city, much to the disappointment of the incumbents. But I grew quite a strong distaste for news. About 4 years ago, I had to leave the town because of the health of one of my children. So I was became a fair distance away from it. But I just grew to hate the whole news thing. Like I wouldn't read the news myself. I found most of it was either just rubbernecking or just utterly irrelevant to people's lives, and it wasn't how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. So I kept the product. I still owned it. I wound back the news production aspect of the business, and it still ticks over now, but I'm more focused on some other projects. So, yeah.
Was that like a livelihood for you? I mean, you were generating enough ad revenue to sustain?
Yeah. I mean, it's put food on the table for the family for the last 7 years. Right now, it's not... It's not quite at that level. I sort of have to do some other stuff as well.
So a true entrepreneur then?
I mean, a guy who just has a go, realises he's going to die soon, so you might as well try and fail than not have a go, that's all.
There's that Aussie Cavalier attitude. Yeah, we're all gonna die sometime, so why not?
Yeah, why not?
Hey, man, it's that attitude and those opinions which probably led us to find each other on Twitter, because you like to get in some fights. You are also you are a pseudo law student, or are you a law student?
No, I am a law student. Yeah.
Okay.
Full-time,
so
full-time law
you
student.
show up in a lot of Twitter threads relating to crypto with a lot of information about lawsuits and what's going on. So I was just wondering, is that a future for you? Are you going to be a lawyer or a judge?
I am not 100% sure. I really enjoy corporate law. And I may...
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, that'd be weird. I done a little bit of environment law. I thought that was really cool. Felt like the Lorax. And I like...
Did you say you felt like the Lorax?
Yeah.
Yeah, you speak for the trees, when you're the...
Yeah,
that's good.
I thought environmental law was interesting.
I guess you have kids. Like he just referenced that he before we started, he's eating a candy cane that his kid gave him. So, are you watching a lot of the Lorax with your kids?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
there's probably going to be some kids show references in this episode.
That's right.
Let's get into the crypto. What's your crypto story? When did you find it? Why did you start using it? And let's start there, because I think this is going to get kind of fun.
I've been a tech nerd for a long time, and I've always followed, what was the latest. So I feel like I've known about Bitcoin forever, and always, read what the latest things were without getting involved myself. So I remember, the Mt. Gox things quite vividly. I remember Apple banning.
Were you invested at that time?
No, I wasn't invested at that time.
Right.
I remember reading about mining a long time ago. I remember some of the key players quitting. I remember reading about the disputes. And I remember one of the this company called Stellar launching and signing up for that for some reason and getting some free coins and then promptly forgetting about it. I was running the business that I was talking about, and there was a fellow in the town who launched his own. Are you allowed to swear on this show?
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
He launched his own shitcoin, and I didn't know what shitcoins were.
You can't say shitcoin on this show.
Yeah,
just kidding.
His coin was called Songcoin, and it was a coin that was going to revolutionize the music industry by being a way for him to fund basically a version of Spotify where people could pay.
Is your friend's name Bryce Wiener?
It sounds a lot like Bryce's idea, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, so I interviewed him because, someone in town who I respected was like, cryptocurrency, you should talk to this dude. And as I was interviewing, I'm like, I don't understand the point of your coin. Like, why wouldn't you just use normal money the app idea sounds great. Why do you need that coin? Like, I didn't quite get it. I was like, well, why not just use Bitcoin? Like, I still don't see why you need... Anyway,
yeah.
He was never able to explain it, but I thought, okay, maybe I'm just too dumb to get it. I followed a bit closer after that point. I was quite intrigued about Bitcoin and explained. He didn't explain very technically because he didn't actually build the coin himself. He just got some dude in India to fork the Litecoin code. Put in a few different parameters, give him the pre-mine, and then managed to get it listed on Cryptopia.
Yeah. So you were skeptical from the start then. I mean, you were interested in the tech, but you weren't invested.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
When somebody shows up with a shitcoin, you immediately question why. So
exactly,
cool.
Yeah. So one of the things I thought Bitcoin was DOA was because Apple had banned apps, Bitcoin apps at that time. And I never got the memo that they'd unbanned them later. So I kind of thought, oh man, if you can't even use this on a smartphone, it's never taken off. So time went on. I would read about Bitcoin and go, I really should look into this one day. And then during the mania that we all remember in 2017, I finally sat down one day. I was like, all right, I'm just going to dedicate an enough time until I figure this thing out and actually understand it. And I sat down and I did some research and figured out how to get some, and I bought some.
Did you actually go down the rabbit hole and learn how it worked, or did you just kind of learn how to get it? So you did all of it.
I learned how it worked, yeah, and that's when I was really blown away by it. I was like, oh, holy crap, this thing's amazing. Yeah, once I figured out how it worked, yeah. So, but after that, I then went and saw all the other coins, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, why is this one better? Why would I want this coin? You know, the Stellar that I had was going through the roof in value. All of a sudden, I was like, I'm such a genius for having some free Stellar. I remember
everybody else.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know, like it might have been New Year's Eve or something that year, just sitting on the toilet reading some thread on Reddit, and some dude's like, oh, I just found out I got some free Ripple on it, and that's when I had the flashback. I was like, oh, I had some free crypto from back in the day. And I searched my old Gmail and tried to find any mention of Ripple and could find nothing. And then I read some more articles, and there was a dude who was like, oh, blah, 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 my free Stellar. And I was like, Stellar, that's the one. Now I remember, and I Googled it and found my private key stored in my email nice and safely. And unlocked it all and managed to dump it right at the peak. It was, pretty lucky.
Nice.
So.
So from the beginning, you knew the game was to sell at the top. That was like why you were.
I didn't quite understand. Pieces would come as you'd go. You'd be like, okay, they can't all be worth something. Like at a certain point, like why is the new coin also going to have value? Are we playing a game of hot potato here? What's happening? And I bought into the Bitcoin maximalist dogma very quickly because it aligned with my
fuck the news attitude.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it did. But I had questions over. So one day this guy, Roger Ver, you might have heard of him. He's posted this thing on Twitter where he's like, I don't know, he's criticizing Andreas Antonopoulos, and he says something along the lines of, Andreas, if you just kept $100 of your Bitcoin from, when you first got in, you'd be a millionaire now. And Andreas replied something along the lines of, I had bills and rent to pay and stuff like that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm very happy with my life, thank you very much. And everyone rallied to donate money to Andreas. One person in particular called Ice Cream something or other sent him like 47 Bitcoins. But everyone else chucked in.
Christ.
Yeah. Like it's this woman on Twitter, and she, I don't think a lot of people realize it was mostly just this one lady who sent a whole like $1 million worth to him. But he was blown away when he woke up in the morning and saw all these donations. Anyway, I was like, you know what? I've watched a ton of Andreas videos. He helped me understand a lot of the technical stuff early on. I'll donate some money to him as well. And I was already having these grand ideas that I was going to use Bitcoin in my business. I could see it being like super useful, especially dealing across borders, paying staff in the Philippines. And so I had some Bitcoin on Coinbase, and I went to send it to Andreas. I was going to send him like $10 worth, and the fee to move it was $15. And I was just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So that's when I started to go, oh, something's not right here.
So you had a vision of how it was going to be used in your business, but you weren't using it yet at that point, or? That's
correct. Yeah, no, I wasn't using it at that point yet. I was, just still working out how I was going to do it.
So even during the bull market of early 2018 or January 2018, we were both there. We remember it. Probably most of our listeners know that month. That's when you are still having skeptical thoughts about the way Bitcoin works. I mean, we all were like, what the hell? Why does it cost $40 to send $5 worth of Bitcoin? This is not going to work.
Yeah. But it was like that. Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell us a bit about how your business works and like what are the benefits of using crypto cross borders? I mean, that's an obvious use case for Bitcoin, but
sure.
Tell us how it works. Tell us how it works in a typical business like that.
Well, I mean, sometimes you get inquiries from people that are abroad that want to advertise, and it was just blinding obvious that a currency like Bitcoin, where you didn't have to worry about how are you going to get paid? Whether do they have Western Union or PayPal, or can they do a Swift deposit, whatever? They can just send you money.
So were you hiring people to edit or to?
Sure. Yeah. So I had staff in the Philippines, and the other idea was it would just be simple to pay. I can just pay them directly. I don't have to worry about whether they, what bank accounts they have access to or don't have access to, or PayPal, or avoid all the fees with all that.
And most of them were cool with that, like that.
No, most of them were like sort of shrugged. They didn't care either way, as long as they got as much money as they could at the end of the day to spend. Like, they're just trying to put food on the table. They didn't really, they weren't excited about it. Like, take it or leave it.
So they weren't excited about being banked.
God damn.
They were curious about, am I going to get rich like everyone else in the world was at that time? Like, if I have some Bitcoin, am I gonna instantly be a millionaire? But they were,
my curiosity is like when you hire somebody and say, can I pay you in Bitcoin or can I pay you in crypto? And if they say, I don't know what that is, but yes, like, do you feel like you have a responsibility to like teach them or make sure that they sell it or whatever? And like, what?
Yeah. Like, when I have actually paid them in crypto, I've had to hold their hands through the setup process, explain how it works, explain what to do. That's partly what led me to abandon the idea of using Lightning. But yeah, just to I guess back up a little bit, some of the other advantages were, like, I would get staff, for example, that wanted me to hold on to their wage for some time because they had issues with, say, their family, maybe a partner that they were planning to leave or something like that, and they were trying to not have that person take all their money while they're working. And if it went into their PayPal account or their bank account, that money would just be gone. So if they understood, I could see that if they understood how Bitcoin worked, I could easily pay it into a brain wallet or something like that they could set up, and they'd still have custody of their money, and it would not be accessible by anyone other than themselves. So I could just see lots of ways that people that were not in the same country, didn't have the same banking facilities, could benefit from Bitcoin. But I also subscribe to, as a maximalist, I subscribe to the scarcity aspect of it as well, and I liked the idea that this would be a good vehicle for savings because your money wouldn't be diluted through inflation year after year. So it wasn't entirely, it's all about how quick and easy it is to use. I did think that it was sound money as well.
You thought it was sound money that was just really expensive to send?
Well, yeah. So after that incident, I started getting a lot more fights on Twitter with, got into arguments with, people like Adam Back, and I posted on Reddit the Bitcoin, and I got censored on Reddit for mentioning the fees. I had all these discussions about
censored for that. You got censored for mentioning the fees.
Yeah. The excuse they gave was like, oh, this discussion is just boring at this point.
Nice.
I didn't realize everyone who wanted bigger blocks had left. And I was a lone voice. They were all using Bitcoin Cash, and I was there going, guys, seriously, whatever you're saying about Lightning, just make the blocks bigger now so you don't lose everyone while you work on your little Lightning project, because this is ridiculous. And then around that time, Stripe just ditched Bitcoin altogether, and I used Stripe a lot in my business. I thought that was a big loss to Bitcoin, the fact that they'd just gone, forget this. So then I went back to the drawing board, and programmers that I knew in the real world, I would approach them and be like, look, okay, tell me about this Lightning thing. Is this real? Like, is it actually going to solve the problem? And I bought into the Lightning era. I saw a video on Twitter of someone doing instant payment on the Lightning testnet coins, buying some digital coffee or something. And I was like, all right, well, if Lightning can solve the problem of the high fees, I'll just sit tight. And so, yeah, that's what everyone said. Look, just give it 18 months. Lightning's being worked on. It's going to solve all your problems. So relax. Don't ditch Bitcoin yet. And I was like, okay, fine. So I stayed with Bitcoin. I stayed a cheerleader in the maximalist cult. And, I listened to the Noted podcast and patted Pierre Richard on the back every time he said how awesome BTC was. And eventually, when Lightning was finally released by Blockstream, and then the LND people said, "Ooh, that's a bit reckless. Maybe give it a bit longer." And then the hashtag Reckless became a cool thing. I tried Lightning for myself, and I managed to get a node up and running when Lightning Labs released their software. And a bit of back and forth. It did take a lot of mucking around to do it, and I got my node working.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to put in perspective what this the year 2018, Bitcoin goes from 20,000 down to 6,000 in a few days, basically. Yep. And it starts to crash, and everyone's kind of saying, don't worry, hold on to your Bitcoin. Lightning is going to come in and save us. It's kind of not just, we're going to take care of the problem of the fees, but we're also going to start pumping again after that. Just wait 6 months for Lightning to do its thing. And most people didn't even know what Lightning was. They're just we're just waiting on Lightning. We'll wait. So that's what you're talking about when Blockstream actually finally releases Lightning and then says, "Oh, it needs a little bit more time." Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I remember when it was falling. That was pretty funny. Yeah, it was hilarious. I remember Adam Back, the CEO of Blockstream going, the bottom is in at $9,500, and all these people that you'd think would just be so much more responsible than that, just giving all this trading advice. Oh, it's just hilarious. Just demanding everyone else hodl. Clearly, the people in the know were not hodling.
Were you convinced by any of it? Because I admit, I had no idea what was going on. No one knew where the bottom was. The fact that you have people saying that is terrible, but
I had my little calculations in my head as to what could happen, and I did not think that BTC long term was screwed. I was like, it doesn't matter. I looked at charts, I saw how much it had dumped in the past. I was like, so after the price fell, and I was still learning more and more about Bitcoin, it dawned on me one day that there was still 1,800 new coins being created every day, and those coins were being created by miners who were running on razor thin margins. And because I got into mining myself as well, that's another side story. But yeah, I had ASICs set up in the garage, annoying my wife, and I realized how many of those 1,800 had to be dumped onto the market to just cover the costs for mining them. And I realized that, of course, the price was going to crash. After that, I just felt silly. And I realized how many people didn't even realize that was a dynamic that was playing out, that there's still heaps of new Bitcoin every day. And there is not $100 million coming into Bitcoin every day to soak up those coins. So,
and that's if you even actually are lucky enough to be one of the miners that gets a reward. Sure. I was reading an article that launched yesterday, the day before, that said 98% of miners are never going to actually collect a reward.
Well, you mine in a pool, and so you don't actually need to mine a block yourself to get a share of the reward. So anyone who buys an ASIC, even one, will get some Bitcoin for it.
Just because they're in a pool, though.
Yeah.
Not because they're actually finding a block and.
That's right. But you don't invest with the expectation that you are going to be the individual that finds the block. Yeah, it's too big now to do that. Yeah, you're just throwing your shovel into the pile, and everyone has agreed. It doesn't matter who finds it. We're all going to split this. Yeah.
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 Oh,
that's crazy, though.
Some governance there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that it evolved that way pretty quickly.
You mean socialism? Full on socialism? I mean, isn't that what socialism is? We're all going to pitch in. We're all going to be paid equally.
Well, the way what I've figured out is if it works, then the capitalists say it was capitalism, and the socialists say it was socialism. And if it doesn't work, the capitalists say that wasn't real capitalism, and the socialists say that wasn't real socialism. So, yeah, it doesn't matter.
So what was?
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
I mean, like ultimately, how would that be capitalism? If the three of us say we're going to
it's capitalism because it's voluntary association. You're voluntarily going into business with all these people, and like it akin to all having shares in a company, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, these are all private groups.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So then, so what? So then, go on. Like, how did you started getting into the scaling debate as a solution to your problem, right?
That's right. Yeah, I just wanted a practical solution. Like everyone was like, oh. Not everyone. There were lots of people who were like, oh, Bitcoin doesn't care about your business, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, I'm not here gambling to get rich on Bitcoin. I'm making money through a business. I want to use Bitcoin in the business. Like that's what you keep saying Bitcoin is for. It's going to be money for the world. Okay, so I want to use it in the real world. It's not usable. And they're like, well, just sit tight, wait for Lightning. And including, when you first get into Bitcoin, you spend the first year trying to figure out who's smart, who knows what they're talking about, and who's an idiot, because you don't really...
That's a good way to put it, yes.
Yeah. And so I thought I found the smart people. I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to sit tight for Lightning. But after I got it up and running, that's when I started to think something was rotten in the...
realizing everyone was fucking idiot?
Well,
no,
so I sent...
Something's rotten, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I sent some money to a roulette site, a Lightning roulette site. So I got the channel open. I don't know if you guys have set up your own Lightning node. But I sent the money to a Lightning node. I got the money on there. I won more money that I'd sent in, and I was like, this is great. And I was like, Lightning, it solves everything. It's instant. I can send one Satoshi. I can send more. It's perfect. I tried to withdraw it, and I couldn't withdraw the money because I didn't have enough incoming channel liquidity. So if I wanted to withdraw 0.01 Bitcoins, I had to have a channel coming towards me that had that much capacity in it. And I was like, at that point, I was like, this is ridiculous. And I was like, okay, of course, I forgot that's actually how it works. It makes sense now. So I dicked around for ages, paid a service to open a channel to my node. And then I kept playing with Lightning. I set up Lightning nodes for my kids and sort of sent money back and forth between them. But I had a bit of a deep dark night of the soul, and I realized like this is just absolute nonsense.
You set up Lightning nodes for your kids?
Yeah. Like I would try to get my kids into cryptocurrency because you want them to get rich as well. I guess I don't know.
Sure.
And if I could pay them pocket money in crypto, then I would do it. But yeah, the idea of just getting my staff to ever set up a Lightning node. I was like, this is, okay, even best case scenario, and this gradually gets better over time. We are years and years and years away from this ever working. And you do the maths, there's no way this can ever onboard the whole world with 1 megabyte blocks anyway. It would take 20 years for everyone in the world to open one channel. Like it doesn't make any, it just felt like it solved nothing. When fees went up on chain, the amount that you had in your wallet essentially decreased because the wallet has to allocate more of the capacity that you have to closing the channel, which is essentially creating another on-chain transaction. So if on-chain transactions go up to $50 a transaction again, and you have a Lightning channel with $50 in it, it's essentially a $0 channel anyway. And then on top of all that, it's just ridiculously complex. You just can't expect someone to do it. Plus, the solution, the thing I was trying to solve was I wanted to pay staff in the Philippines, which meant I was doing a one-way payment. It was unidirectional. It wasn't. They weren't then going to be also spending it back to me. So there was no real advantage to Lightning because every month I would have to open another channel, send the money to them, and then that would be the end of that channel because that channel would then be empty. I couldn't put more in it. And people were like, oh, you just open a bigger channel. Well, you can't because there's a cap on how big your channels can be, for starters. And it's not safe because the Lightning channels have to be online all the time. It's not safe to put $50,000 in a channel and just leave your computer on. That's just moronic. So I was like, this solves nothing. Like,
I mean, so is that still a thing where if your computer went offline, then you would lose that 50,000? Because I thought there was ways of getting it back, but it would just take like weeks.
You didn't lose it. You just ran the risk of it happening, and you couldn't. You were no longer part of the Lightning network. Like you certainly couldn't receive money on Lightning unless you booted it all up. But yeah, like there were times where I would not have the Lightning thing on for a week, turn it on, and then you just have all these issues trying to resync. And I lost money in Lightning from mucking around with it. And like you can't restore your Lightning channel from a 12 words seed or your 24 seed or whatever. That seed is something separate. You have to have all these other files backed up to restore your channels. Yeah, it's like they took something. It is a nightmare. Yeah, they took something beautiful and simple that worked just amazingly, and it just made it so ridiculously complex. It was So I was like, look. So I wrote a thread about my experiences with Lightning, and everyone who's anti-BTC loved it and praised me for it, and everyone who's pro-BTC called me an idiot. And I didn't really care either way, but it just became very clear to me that no one gave a crap about actual capitalism in BTC. Like they all think they're libertarians and capitalists, but I swear to God, none of them run a business. None of them understand economics.
And it's obvious.
Oh,
it's so obvious.
Yeah. And they would boast about how little they cared about my business. They wore it as a badge of honor, saying, Bitcoin doesn't care about your business. Bitcoin's bigger than your business. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'll see you later then. And they're like, well, no, you should wait. You should keep waiting until it works. I'm like, well, guess what? I have to feed my children today. Like I can't wait another 2 years to find something that works. Like I need to run the business now.
None of them live check to check. None of them know what it's like to have to feed people. They all live in this little dream bubble.
I mean,
that's right.
It's mind numbing after a while.
Blockstream is a business. They have a business model, and that is to leech off of Bitcoin. Basically, I mean.
Basically, their business model appears to me to be get more VC funding. Like that's the only money I see they've ever made. Like I bought the Blockstream stickers off them on their little Lightning site, and they blocked me since. Like after I complained about Lightning, they blocked me. Like I figured they're called Blockstream because they block people. Samson Mao blocked me. Blockstream account blocked me.
It's so funny that people who are all about uncensorable money love to censor people left and right. They're
man.
I mean, I've never seen a community censor more people than the Bitcoin community. Yeah. They censor so many people.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, I mean, the early episodes of this podcast, we were basically talking about how is really difficult to, I mean, trying to mine when you're going to get your mining equipment from basically a monopoly or very close to a monopoly. Trying to use Bitcoin, which needs this other service from Blockstream in order to operate. But then, of course, you get all of the big money coming in to buy BTC. So it's also going to be the one that's going to go up in value the most. So you can't kind of deny any of these things. But getting back to your experience, this led you to look into, did you get into Bitcoin Cash then? Was that a solution at first?
So at that point, the BSV BCH split had happened, and I was convinced. Well, I'd been a maximalist up until that point, a BTC maximalist, and so as much as I was anything, I guess I didn't belong to any actual group. I went back to the drawing board and I was like, okay, what are my other options here? And I looked into Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. I still didn't. I had dabbled in some altcoins here and there, but I'd watched their communities just make really dumb decisions, and basically the founder of the community would just make these unilateral decisions without any consultation in the community, and you're at the mercy of basically whoever's in charge.
Which ones specifically?
I'll say like Zencash, for example. I I liked their coin for a bit, and then I watched the founders just one day announce that they are increasing the tax that they're putting on the mining on the block subsidy or the mining reward to send more of it to their company.
Okay.
They changed their, and then one day they just decided to change their name to Horizon for some reason. And other coins too, but I wasn't necessarily anti altcoins. I just was of the opinion that, like, I haven't read a single libertarian book or economics book, but just having
You're better off for it, my friend.
yeah. So I've never read an Ayn Rand book or anything like that, but I certainly lean towards the idea that if we are all competing to acquire one money, then we will all be better off. And it would be far smarter to figure out what that coin everyone is going to compete to get, what that money is, so that you are richer in the future. Like, I'm not ashamed. I don't walk around virtue signaling on Twitter pretending that I'm not trying to get rich or richer than I am. Like, I think that's like silly. Like, we all obviously would prefer to have more money than less. But I saw that most of the altcoin communities were made up of people that would jump onto the next hot coin whenever it came along. And so there didn't seem to be any reason to invest long-term or build long-term on any of those projects. They all seemed like hot potatoes. But Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV did seem different. They still seem to be maximalists in their particular coin. And so I looked into both of them. And Bitcoin Cash, when I spoke with that community, their responses were basically, Craig Wright's an idiot. And when I spoke with people in the BSV community, they were basically giving me a rundown on why their coin was good. Here, download this app, we'll send you some. Hey, do you know about RBF and why it ruined Bitcoin in the first place? We got rid of it. And when I learned about RBF, I was like, oh, holy crap, who the heck put that on BTC? That's ridiculous.
What is RBF?
RBF stands for replace by fee. So when you send
we know this.
You know about replace by fee? Yeah.
Well, actually, Bryce was the one who came on our show and talked about it. But tell us about it again.
So when you broadcast a transaction, when you broadcast a transaction to all the miners from your wallet on your computer, you are it goes into what's called the memory pool or the mempool, and if there's enough space in the next block, the winning miner will include it in that block of transactions. What RBF did on BTC, or replace by fee, it gave you the ability to, if you sent that transaction, to tell the miner that you no longer want to move that particular coin in that transaction, and you can increase the fee a little bit and send it to a different address instead if it hasn't been mined yet. So that means that you could no longer, as a merchant, trust that when someone had broadcast a transaction to the network, it was, 99% secure. It became like trivially easy to replace that transaction just from a mobile phone, I guess. So no merchant could ever, sell a $100 jacket and then let someone leave the store. They would actually have to stand there and wait for the transaction to get confirmed, whether it be 10 minutes or if it took an hour, you just have to wait.
Yeah.
Whereas it's still theoretically possible to do a double spend without RBF, but it's orders of magnitude harder because, say you go into a shop and you spend $100 worth of BSV or BCH, the memory pool, or that transaction gets broadcast to a miner who within a few seconds will send that transaction to all the other miners, and it becomes virtually impossible to replace that transaction in the eyes of a different miner. You would have to mine the next block yourself or have some other very complex way of double spending. So it's still safer to have your transaction confirmed in a block, but it's not... it just makes no sense from a business standpoint to have RBF on
Right.
Bitcoin. Yep.
Has there ever been any kind of like video done of a real world experience of somebody actually doing it?
Oh yeah. The guy,
just how
what's
easy
his
it
name?
is?
Hayden Otto made a video recently where he went into a pub and double spent BTC in front of everyone, and it went sort of. It was pretty popular, obviously, in the non-BTC world. And after that, a lot of merchants have ditched BTC because he showed how ridiculously easy it was to do it.
Gotcha.
Well,
And there's so much cognitive dissonance that no one in the real world is willing to even admit that it's an issue. But they just say
his name again?
Hayden Otto, Hayden Otto. I think he's a big Bitcoin Cash guy in
I think
Queensland.
I've seen him on Twitter.
Yeah. He's it was on YouTube. I don't know if he's called Bitcoin Cash City or if his channel's just under his own name. But yeah, it was pretty funny.
So BSV.
Yeah, it's funny how many people didn't know how easy it was, really.
So people from BSV explain this to you. Go, oh shit, what the hell have I been doing? And then it was all sunshine and rainbows in BSV land. We live forever.
That's right. Yeah. and I promptly realized there were a lot of crazy people in BSV. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, you're all nutters as well. Like, it was clear that this is a different cult. It was another cult, but it was a cult.
Eat these magic cookies and come with us to BSV
That's
land.
right. Yeah. But on the other hand, this cult had actual working products. It was like, they were making stuff that actually did things, and you could criticize the things that they made all you wanted, which is what the BTC people did. But just as an entrepreneur, I respected the fact that they at least had the freedom to do it. Like, I feel like, yeah, there are going to be a million dumb ass ideas that won't work, but that happens in the real world as well. Like, lots of people can experiment and fail. Yeah, that's the free market. You build a coffee shop. The world didn't need another coffee shop. You go broke. You know, who cares? Like, it's only one person gets ruined, rather than the socialist style of doing things on BTC, where the developer decides what businesses should be allowed and what shouldn't, and no one can experiment. There's just no one is going, I've got a new business idea on BTC. The only ideas were, I'm launching a podcast or I'm building a new exchange. That's all you can really do.
I wouldn't consider that socialist. I'd consider that authoritarian. You have a dictator who's deciding for everybody.
That is. I mean, if you read at some of the earlier, I said I haven't read anything. Now I'm going to tell you something I did read. that was how socialism was defined by von Mises as a it was defined as like this is 150 years ago as central planning. So.
Hold the phone. You mean a guy who didn't like socialism said something bad about socialism? Wow. News at 11.
That's right.
I mean,
sure.
We don't.
But I mean, I'm saying, so when people mean different things. Words are meaningless if we all mean different things when we say the word. So what I mean is like, so instead of the S word, if I said central planning versus locally planning, I like Nassim Taleb's way of explaining it. Like, it's more like skin in the game versus no skin in the game. So for me, it was like the devs who have no money on the line. You don't know whether they've invested anything or not. They're the ones making the decisions, and they have nothing to lose. They will go and get another $150,000 a year job, no matter what happens to Bitcoin. Versus,
and now they're all complaining that they're not getting paid for their development work. And then
versus
now they want taxes.
Whereas I'm sort of more of the opinion, like, I think the people who put their livelihoods on the line should reap the rewards or suffer the pain of their decisions. Like, I'm just more of a skin in the game guy. It's not for me. It's not left or right or communism, capitalism. It's like skin in the game versus no skin in the game. And I just saw the devs who were making the decisions they had no business experience, no skin in the game. They weren't affected by the decisions. And I see that in politics and running this media company that I've done for many years as well. Like, you watch people in Canberra who are on the other side of Australia making decisions that would impact, little Aboriginal kids living in the bush, and that would affect them negatively. And the people making the decisions had they would all virtue signal each other they made this wonderful decision, but they were not. If it was a bad decision, they weren't impacted by it. That's my issue in politics. It's not we should be more left or more right. It's just I think we should be more. The decision makers should be impacted by their decisions. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
So then
it's good. It's good.
BSV then, again, you're saying that you like how they've got stuff going on. And that,
well, you actually, so let's get into this article you wrote, because you wrote this thing on Twitter.
You wrote that later though, right?
People flipped the fuck out about it.
I want to hear more about like your first experiences with BSV, because that came way later after you kind of denounced the project.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
okay,
you started using
with
BSV with your business, and it was working great, right? I mean,
worked great. Yep. You could send Bitcoin SV back and forth instantly. It worked as advertised on the box. The apps being built for it were fantastic. Like, their wallets were orders of magnitude better than anything in BTC. They seem to understand that the miners should be the decision makers. I know everyone in BTC flipped out at the fact that Calvin Ayre would be making decisions about the future of the protocol, but that made more sense than anything to me, because he was the guy investing millions of dollars. Like, why would you be listening to a couple of nerds in front of their computers who may or may not own anything versus...
And have never taken an economics class.
That's right. Yeah. So I put aside my prejudices against Craig Wright. I read everything. I listened to everything. I spent a lot of time discussing.
You did have prejudices, though. You did
oh,
have
sure.
prejudices
Yeah.
going into it.
I believed he was a fraud at the beginning, but as I listened to him, I was like, okay, I 100% agree with him on scaling. I agree with him. Like, he's repeating what Satoshi said, and I went back and read the white paper again, and I was like, it's clear Satoshi Nakamoto was a big blocker. In fact, he wasn't even a big blocker, because there was no question over whether the blocks would be big. It was from day one, of course they're going to be big, and of course they're going to be in server farms. That was always the plan. Like, it was just so glaringly obvious to me, and it blew my mind that everyone else thought they were smarter than Satoshi. So yeah, everything was great in BSV. I made some great friends, a lot of respect for a lot of people. Like I say, there's some crazies in there, but actually there's a lot of really smart people as well. And I saw that these people had just left the BTC community, 6 months before I'd gotten in. And so that's why I'd never come across their names. But as you'd go back through their earlier conversations, you saw they were quite prominent voices from the get-go. And they were the ones saying, guys, why would you want small blocks? However, and I joined like their Slack channel, the MetaNet Slack channel. When I remember when Craig Wright got kicked off Twitter, that was while I was in BSV. That was quite an amusing time.
Because the entire time, one of the issues I have with BSV is everything, like you say, the wallets work well, the apps work, it's a lively community, but it does kind of have a bit of that Scientology thing where like there's some big money like greasing the wheels to make it work or something. And it's like that the criticism that like, oh, everybody who is involved with BSV is getting paid, is a paid shill of BSV. And that's not
bullshit. Yeah, it's not true.
But there is some money there is some money from the top that's making it work better than it would if it were just a project like, say, I don't know, Nano or whatever, like. That's what it seems like to me. At least it has that feeling when you like watch the YouTube videos and stuff. It's like, this is way too overproduced to be something that is like grassroots.
I mean, it seems like it's a business. Like, somebody had some money. They said, I want to fork this. I want to do it the way we think it should be. We're going to invest a lot of money into it. We're going to pay people. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it's just like, it's like any other business, any other company.
I don't, that doesn't scare me at all. Even if that were true, I'd be quite happy if...
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it like it's a pejorative. That's kind of how it comes across to me.
Yeah, it does, because you can't argue with the fact that N-Chain, the decision they make goes, but I'm not sure it's different with Blockstream and BTC or ABC and Bitcoin Cash. Most people outside of BSV don't say that, though. They say it's a scam. And so what I went looking for was, where's the scam? Okay, if it is a scam, what's the scam? Like, okay, and I guess it boils down to they're just going to dump on you. And I bought into BSV and I made a lot of money. Like it went up, and I was like, well, this was a great decision. You're all idiots. So yeah, I couldn't see where the scam was. I didn't think Craig Wright was running a scam because he didn't like.
There was no exit. There was nothing.
Mate, yeah, like Vitalik Buterin did a massive pre-mine and sold this coin to a bunch of people who didn't understand it and got instantly rich, and yet he's out there calling Craig Wright a scammer. I'm like, well, what's Craig done? He sold his patents to Enchain before they were called Enchain, when they were called Encrypt. Like that's the only scam that I could see if there was a scam was Craig pretended to be Satoshi in order to sell some patents that weren't actually worth anything. Maybe that's the scam.
That's kind of scammy.
Oh, if that is a scam, yeah. But I can't see where there's a BSV scam where like a coin that actually works as advertised,
right?
That does everything it says on the label, and that no one can create extra ones of and dump, and no one has a pre-mine of them that they're dumping on the market every quarter, like Ripple or something like that. I couldn't see where. Okay, what's the scam? This thing works.
I mean, there is a pre-mine if you already own a bunch of BTC or at this point BCH, because now you have double the money.
Yeah,
not really. No, because you own, if you owned 100 bitcoins, you now own 100 bitcoins, 100 BCH, and 100 BSV. Like, and all of them are saying, "Oh, we're the real Bitcoin." So, really, you've now considered yourself, "Oh, I've got some free BCH or free BTC."
Yeah, no, but if I had, let's say, I had $100 million and I wanted to create my own blockchain, I could buy $100 million worth of BSV, fork BSV, and then have $100 million in BSV and $100 million of my new coin.
But you haven't set yourself up any better than everyone else who owned the coin. So if Craig Wright had done that, if he'd gone and bought a whole bunch of BCH and then deliberately forked it, even though it's pretty clear that he was trying not to fork, then, well, everyone else who owned BCH that was against him has also got free BSV. So there's no...
Yeah, but
you're not any richer
if
than
if they never
people.
take it, then that decreases the supply, technically.
Yeah, that's an if. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean,
but I mean, like technically, it is.
But I mean, like if you were like most of the ICO people, you would have, and you were a scammer, as people say Craig Wright is, which I don't think he is. Then you would go and launch a coin where you were instantly richer than everyone else. You had most of those coins yourself. So, and that hasn't been done on BSV, and it's not possible to do that on BSV or BCH or any fork.
Yeah, but with an ICO, I can say I have this product that I think you will like, and I'm selling it for BTC or I'm selling it for Ethereum. So you're going to pay me for something, and you're going to invest in it, and it's up to you to do the research. And if you do it, you do it. If you don't, if you don't. If people don't like it, my pre-mine goes to zero, and it's worthless.
That's right.
But if I fork BTC to BCH or BCH to BSV, and I have a following of devs, and I convince the devs to come over to me, I'm literally just printing money for myself, because BCH isn't going to zero.
No, because you're not though, because the value of the original of BCH goes down. Like you don't keep the value of BCH and keep the value of BSV. The value gets split between them. So now, like when BCH split, the combination of BCH and BSV was lower than what BCH was by itself. So
yeah, but what is it now?
Well, now it's gone back up because BSV's continued to grow. But you were not richer because of the BSV split.
I'm sorry. I don't mean within like a day. I mean, I've actually printed currency for myself. It may be worthless. It may not be worthless, but I've actually printed 100% more currency for myself by forking it.
I see it differently. I see it differently because you've actually printed more currency for everyone. So you've diluted your money. Like you've diluted all the money. Yeah. So I don't see that as a pre-mine, because a pre-mine is, this is for me and me only.
I see how that works. You still have to, inject the value into that project that you've forked. So Well, anyway, so moving on. So what was your what happened? Like, why? Like, you eventually turned on BSV too. Was that because?
Sure.
Was that purely because of
Craig
Wright and the legal stuff, or?
Yeah. So I went to great lengths to tell myself that, look, it doesn't matter if Craig is Satoshi or not, because it will succeed. The project will succeed on its merits. Does it work or does it not work? And is what Craig says about scaling true or not true? But after a while, I decided I would look into whether I did think he was Satoshi or not. And there were two things in his favor to say he is Satoshi, and that is the Gavin Andreessen testimony, who says that Craig signed something in front of him. And there's a guy named Joseph Vaughan Perling, who was an early crypto guy, and he's the dude who wears the cowboy hat, and he's disappeared off Twitter now. But he also was on the record saying Craig is Satoshi, and I knew that even before he was outed. And everything else points to Craig lying. And so I argued with a whole bunch of BTC people about those particular testimonies, not because I was convinced Craig was Satoshi, but I wanted to hear how they interpreted Vaughan Perling's testimony and Andreessen's. And no one could really give a solid explanation as to why they would think he is Satoshi. But I just kept seeing Craig constantly lie. And then one day during this Kleiman case, the Dave Kleiman case that's ongoing, there was a document submitted to the court that was clearly fraudulent, and it was going around on Reddit, and a bunch of people in the Reddit comments were saying, oh, that was submitted by Kleiman's side, that's not even Craig Wright that submitted, you idiots. And I did a little bit of digging, and not because I'm a law student and I understand it, but because I can read. It was pretty clear that it was submitted by Craig's lawyers. And so I was in the Slack and I messaged Craig. And when you message Craig in Slack, you have to grovel on your hands and knees. Like, it's so bizarre. They all worship him so much.
So weird.
It's weird. Like, if you ask a question in a slightly critical way, there's these other Craig defenders that will just jump on you. You'll get banned from the Slack. You'll get excommunicated.
It's like something.
Craig will start abusing you. It is hilarious. Honestly, it's hilarious. But anyway, so I humbly asked Craig about this document, and he told me to my face on Slack that it was submitted by the other side, and I was like, all right, this guy's just a pathological liar. Can you hold on one sec?
Yeah.
Okay, go. That was my 4-year-old.
So you
give me another lollipop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it was pretty clear that I was like, all right, this guy can't help himself. He's got no ethics. Like, he's willing to just.
You're
lie
saying
to a
this
fan.
because you were reading the transcripts from the court cases.
Yeah, and I could just read the top of the document. It was clearly submitted by Craig's side. It was a fraudulent document, and then the next day, Craig's lawyer withdrew it.
How did you know it was a fraudulent document, though?
I don't remember. There's been so many fraudulent documents from his team now. They all blur into one. It's like trying to remember the time Donald Trump lied.
You do your own research, and you decide basically this is obviously fraudulent. He is lying, and that's where you get pissed off.
Yeah, and not only was he lying about in the document, he was willing to lie directly to me and pretend. And he thought he could convince all his Slack followers that this fraudulent document he had submitted to the court was submitted by Dave Kleiman's lawyers. Like, he thinks everyone who follows him is so dumb, and they are, most of them, will just believe any explanation he gives about these constant document frauds that he keeps producing. So I was like, look, this guy's a moron, and he just got us kicked off Kraken, he got us kicked off Binance, he's driving anyone who's a good dev away from the project. I don't want anything to do with, like, as much as it works, I just don't think it can sustain this guy's idiotic behavior. He's not... He is right about the scaling thing, but that doesn't discount the fact that his brain doesn't work properly. He's mentally ill. Like, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to people with mental illness. I don't even mean it disrespectfully to Craig. Like, I think there is something actually broken in his mind, and it doesn't work like a normal human. He doesn't experience empathy.
Right.
He's unable to see that there's anything wrong with lying to people's faces constantly. When you go back and listen to his videos without the filter of Craig is right, Craig is correct, you see that he just rambles, he goes off tangent, and because he's so vague half the time, people read into what he's saying, what they already believe, and then they think he's a wonderful genius. So I just saw him as a threat to my investment rather than an asset, and he just carried too much weight in the community, for better or worse. Even though I knew he didn't control it, and I don't think he codes a single thing at nChain, and he's not even the CEO of nChain. He's just chief scientist, like he's an employee. So he's not the head of he's not the head of anything, but somehow he's just worshipped by. I thought he was worshipped by too many people in BSV to not influence the outcome, and it was clear he was a liar and never ever going to move a single Satoshi coin.
So that's fascinating to me. One of the theses that I've had for this show and in crypto is that too many people are following too many personalities and not the actual projects and what they're trying to achieve. But this is a case where you actually have a very practical reason to think this guy is possibly a liability to your investment.
That's right.
He might endanger the system that you've bought into. And it's not about, it doesn't have anything to do with following a personality. It's the fact that this guy is unhinged basically, and he could wreck the entire thing. Well, you're saying that you don't think he has enough power to actually, do any more damage. I always thought it was strange that, it was so dumb to me that his actions would get the coin delisted. He's like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. It's like, we all hate Craig Wright. Well, we're going to show him and then take his coin off of our... It's like that... Okay, I guess the personalities are so strong. Every coin has a face that's the way we invest now.
Yeah. It's like saying Peter McCormack shills Bitcoin, so we're going to get Bitcoin off of exchanges. Yeah. It's like, it's one person. Who cares what one person says? But at the same time, that guy does a lot of sway. A
little bit. I can actually understand it. In one sense. Hey, can I just take a 2-minute break? Can you give me 1 sec?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I am going to have to leave around 5:30, just to let you know. So maybe when you come back, we can just kind of wrap this up.
All right, no worries. 1 sec.
Okay. This is interesting because he's a lot more coherent about his frustrations with BTC. I get DeRose seems to be coming at it from more of I don't want to say emotional because he has got, but he talks about it in a more emotional way. Whereas Jason's talking about it more of in a lawyerly way, just breaking it down, experience by experience, each little piece. This is why this happened. This is why that happened. That's why I did this. And it's just versus DeRose saying Bitcoin let me down.
Yeah,
and that's a very emotional, comment to make. And so it's interesting to hear him talk about it this way.
Yeah, to me, I don't think, I'm not sure if DeRose ever was fully believed that Bitcoin was going to work. He probably just drank the Kool-Aid in a way.
Yeah.
But
I feel probably everybody does in the beginning.
Yeah, and the fact that he has such a popular show. So.
Yeah.
Yo, you there?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of...
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so Jason, at that point, you're like, all right, I got to get all my money out of BSV, or
that's right. Yeah, it wasn't, and it wasn't a bad trade. I was ahead by having been in BSV, but I was I wrote a little article about my experience. I showed evidence of Craig lying. I explained categorically I didn't think anything was fundamentally wrong with BSV, but it's clear Craig is toxic and he's a liar, and I instantly got attacked by everyone in BSV. It was so bizarre. I was like, you guys are lunatics. I got kicked out of the little chat groups that I was in. I had, and no one could provide a shred of evidence. It was just pejorative attacks, and
they never can.
No,
it
was
never
it was
can.
all.
That's what's frustrating.
It was
so
all.
Then what did you?
Yeah.
What did you end up? What are you using? Are you back to BTC then?
Well, no, so what?
Nano. He's a nano now.
Yeah, nano. I went. I was like, look, screw you guys. I'll figure out. BTC mempool was low at the time, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to try using it for the time being. And I used the opportunity of having publicly disavowed Craig Wright and stuff to, ingratiate myself with a lot of BTCers. And I tried to find what information they had that I was missing. Like, what did they know that I didn't know? And I spoke to a lot of people, and I eventually reached the conclusion that they are still idiots and they don't know anything. And everyone's meme is essentially keep buying it because other people are going to keep buying it. And I couldn't figure out, well, hang on, this is a Ponzi scheme. Like, there's no, you know it can't be used for business. You don't care that it can't be used. You almost wear it as a badge of honor, and somehow it's going to go from not being usable to being a world reserve currency. Like, there's just it is mind blowing.
Something that Daniel Kraywitz says on Twitter. He actually asked, like, does anybody actually believe that Tether is legit, or are they all just like quietly hoping that it sticks around for the sake of their investment? That's another thing too. It's just like, what the fuck? This is crazy. But it's
100%. And I've got a lot of time for Daniel, and he's in BSV, and I agree with Daniel's explanation of what money is, and that it's the future production value of goods that are available in that currency is its value. And there is not going to be anything for BTC. It's all just people speculating. It's turtles all the way down. It's just bizarre. And I would still write criticisms of Craig from time to time on Twitter, and I looked into a lot of other coins. I really liked certain ones, but I saw so many flaws in the way their communities were set up, and everyone still seemed to be multi-coiners. They would still hop from one coin to the next, and no one seemed to have a understanding of economics or money other than people in BTC, but they had a very flawed premise, and people in BSV. And that was very annoying to me because I thought if a coin like Zcash, for example, just had better economic understanding of money, if they were all maximalists, like, they could easily win, but they don't seem interested in that. So
really fast, what do you mean, because we only have a couple minutes left, what do you mean economic understanding of money?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't mean to be condescending as if like I've got the secret knowledge and they don't. I just mean like everyone I met in just about every other coin community, as I went down the list, checking them all out, they were all multi-coiners. Like, they didn't seem to appreciate that we all needed to use the one money in order for that money to become more valuable and win, I guess. They would, very few of them thought a fixed supply was a good thing. Zcash, for example, has a culture now where no one will build anything unless they get a percentage of the developer tax or whatever to build that project first. So it's all centrally planned, and there's no businesses building anything on it. Almost every other coin was like that. Some were like, oh, we're hoping to be the next Litecoin. There's just no economic activity. And I realized, having left BSV, how rare it was what was happening in BSV, where there were real businesses doing real things. And so I would criticize Craig Wright on Twitter still quite frequently and get attacked by people in BSV. But I was getting more and more people in BSV who didn't believe Craig was Satoshi reach out to me and contact me. And one time I did this, and as a caveat, I mentioned there are some really good apps built on BSV. I do acknowledge that. And my experience with law made me look into tokenized securities and things like that, shares and what have you. And I saw that there is a big potential for that to be done on the blockchain, and really only Ravencoin and BSV were the ones that were taking it seriously or doing it in a way that might work in the real world. And so I threw a caveat on Twitter about the good apps in BSV that are being built. And I had some BTC Maximus who were following me at the time say, what the hell are you talking about? What apps? And I rattled off, 9 or 10 of them.
That was a Medium
businesses.
post too, right? I mean, that's what
No,
you're
that
talking
was.
about. No, that
Oh,
was later.
sorry, it did become a Medium post. Yeah, it did. That's right. Yeah. So I rattled off a few on Twitter, and they promptly got angry that I mentioned any. And then, just to troll them or annoy them further, I decided to write an article about all the great BSV apps. And I hadn't invested in BSV at that time, but I wrote the article anyway, and I promptly got welcomed back into the BSV community.
Oh, wow.
Because they interpreted. I just said, here's a bunch of great apps on BSV, without saying I've invested in it. Anyway, I didn't correct anyone. I didn't say, oh, I'm not involved in your crazy coin. But I did reread my own post, and I was like, there's just none of this stuff is being built anywhere else. BCH seems to be in the middle of a split itself. It's the only real competitor I saw to BSV. All the other altcoins are just trying to be the next cool altcoin. No one is trying to take over the world. Like, there's 2 coins trying to take over the world, or 3 maybe, but it's BTC, it's BCH, it's BSV, and BSV seems to be the only one building anything interesting at all. And at that time it was trading very low, and I was like, look, I just think this thing's undervalued. Clearly I was wrong. Like, Craig's behavior has driven no one of importance away. And I met more and more people that were like, yeah, Craig's an idiot. We don't think he's Satoshi. Come and join us. They were quite open arms, like, come and be in BSV and hate Craig Wright with us. And so I did actually put my money where my mouth was. I went back into BSV.
Wow,
and then
great.
it promptly went up 4x, and I thought I was really smart.
So that's, I mean, there you have it, man. That's a fascinating story. So we're going to have to have you back on the show so you can tell us your opinions about Ethereum, because I kind of want to hear that.
Sure.
But we don't have to go there today because we don't have time. So, we're going to have to end it here, but thanks, Jason, so much. I Wear a Hoodie on Twitter is where people can find you and follow you and ask you questions about BSV minus Satoshi.
Is there anything else you want to show right now? Like,
nah, mate.
business-wise?
I got nothing to show.
All right. Cool.
Thanks for letting me ramble.
Yep. Thanks for joining us.
It's a great story.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm going to kill the recording here, but I'll see you guys around.
Yep. See you on